James Watson and Francis Crick are well known as the scientists who discovered the structure of DNA. They worked together at Cambridge University at the time of the discovery. What tends to be overlooked, however, is the exact context with which their discovery was made. Rosalind Franklin was a brilliant woman living in a man's world. Her lab mates were men who were not afraid to inform her that women do not belong in laboratory settings, and she could never amount to as much as the men could. Despite this working environment, she remained diligent and determined to do everything she could in order to discover the mysterious structure of DNA. She did not frequently get along well with her colleagues in the field. In a memoir, James Watson stated, "Though her features were strong, she was not unattractive and may have been quite stunning had she taken even a mild interest in clothes. This she did not. By choice, she did not emphasize her feminine qualities. There was never lipstick to contrast with her straight black hair. While at the age of 31, her dresses showed all the imagination of English blue-stocking adolescents. So it's quite easy to imagine her the product of an unsatisfied mother who unduly stressed the desirability of professional careers that could save bright girls from marriages to dull men. Clearly, Rosie had to go or be put in her place. It was not difficult to understand her distaste for these men." Rosalind Franklin worked in a lab at King's College in London with a man named Maurice Wilkins. He wanted to be friends with Watson and Crick, but was generally seen as more of an outsider to the group. Like most of the other men in the scientific community, Wilkins was not very supportive of Franklin's presence in the lab. Rosalind Franklin conducted her research using a technique called X-ray diffraction. Through her efforts, she was able to obtain invaluable information about the structure of DNA, which was captured in photograph 51 shown here. This showed the double helical structure that DNA had, which no one in the scientific community had yet been able to see. While working across town with their ball and stick models, Watson and Crick heard that Rosalind Franklin had taken a photo which offered insight into the structure of DNA. Understanding what that meant, they asked her if she'd be willing to collaborate with them. However, because of their history of disrespecting her, she was not inclined to cooperate with them. Watson and Crick somehow ended up obtaining photograph 51. Many people who have researched the topic suggest that someone who worked with Rosalind Franklin must have taken the photo from the lab without permission and given it to these men. Watson and Crick published their paper with their discovery of the structure of DNA in 1953. Rosalind Franklin died in 1958 of ovarian cancer without ever having received credit for her immensely important work on the topic. Her cancer and subsequent death was almost certainly brought about from her lifelong work with X-ray diffraction. In 1962, the Nobel Prize for the discovery of the structure of DNA was awarded to James Watson, Francis Crick, and Maurice Wilkins. Rosalind Franklin was not awarded part of the prize for her work toward discovery because the Nobel Prize cannot be awarded posthumously. In 2008, the Nobel Prize Committee released the ballot information regarding the Nobel Prize. Rosalind Franklin was not eligible to win because she had passed away, but as it turns out, no one even ever nominated her, even though she was still alive at the time of the nominations. Later, James Watson even admitted that it probably would have been appropriate to include her in the prize. Historically, women have been mistreated and overlooked in the scientific community. Despite her obstacles, Rosalind Franklin's contributions to the scientific community, as well as to women, will continue to shine and inspire women for generations to come.